There are often stories about the close cooperation between the United States Armed Forces and the German Bundeswehr, who frequently conduct joint training exercises on American soil. It's said that for every slot available for a German soldier to participate in a mission in the vast and beautiful landscapes of the US, the competition is fierce, sometimes as high as 200 applicants for a single position. The protagonist of today's story is a German female soldier who came to America after being selected for one such joint task force. With no special plans beyond her duty, she initially looked down on the American mountains, thinking they were little more than gentle hills for a casual stroll. But then, an unexpected accident on a mountain she climbed alone would change her life forever. An American man who found her immediately began to cut away her trousers, and she was too weak to resist or even move. Let's find out what really happened. My name is Sergeant Clara Schmidt. I am 27 years old, from Bavaria, Germany. The moment I first set foot on American soil at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, everything felt foreign, yet strangely familiar. At 170 centimeters tall, with a lean but powerful build, I've always carried myself with confidence, a pride rooted in my physical prowess and athletic abilities. I consistently ranked at the top of the Bundeswehr physical fitness tests, especially in the grueling ranger courses, where even my male colleagues admitted they struggled to keep up. About a week after arriving in North Carolina, while on patrol, I saw the hazy blue silhouette of the Appalachian Mountains in the distance. One day, I thought to myself, I will conquer those hills. The mountains I saw for the first time looked lush and green, far less imposing than the jagged, formidable Alps of my homeland. This will be more of a walk than a climb, I mused. An older officer in my unit warned me, Clara, the American wilderness is more dangerous than it looks. Dense forests, venomous snakes, unpredictable weather. You have to be careful. At the time, I just laughed it off. Don't worry, sir, I replied confidently. I'm so sure of myself I could probably be a mountain warfare instructor here. With that unshakable confidence, on my first leave, I decided to climb a nearby peak. The initial hike was even easier than I had imagined. With a small day pack, I reached the summit in under an hour. I was right, I thought proudly. However, on my way down, I witnessed a humbling sight. Several American men, well into their 50 seconds, were steadily ascending, each carrying a backpack that looked to be over 20 kilograms. And most importantly, they were moving faster than me. Do you really need such a big pack for a small mountain like this? I wondered aloud as I passed them. One of them, hearing my German accent, replied in slightly broken but friendly English, "This is for a multi-day trek through the backcountry, ma'am." I was surprised they were attempting a long-distance hike in what I considered modest terrain, especially given their age. They carried their heavy gear, which looked almost like military rucksacks, yet they chatted amiably as they climbed. It was impressive. How could they move so quickly with such heavy loads? They felt challenged. After that day, I started spending every weekend exploring the national parks of the region. What began as sightseeing soon turned into a personal challenge. I chose progressively harder trails and added more weight to my pack. I often wore my German Army issue combat trousers, which sometimes earned me curious glances from other hikers, but those looks only fueled my determination. One day, while hiking a strenuous trail in the Pisgah National Forest, an American man in his 40s who had been ahead of me paused to let me pass. "You a German soldier? From the joint exercises?" he asked in perfect English. "That's awesome. Welcome." In that moment, I felt a surge of pride, but also a strange sense of competition. This was my profession, my specialty. Why were these civilians so good at it? For 5 months, I clung to my pride, constantly seeking more challenging routes. Solo hiking had become my norm, and my thirst for adventure grew daily. Maybe I'll try a solo through hike on a section of the Appalachian Trail next leave, I thought. With that in mind, I set off on another solo climb. The day was unusually overcast. By the time I was halfway up, a thick fog rolled in. Visibility was poor, but I pushed on. A little fog is nothing, I told myself. This is standard training conditions. The trouble started on the descent. A sudden downpour turned the dirt trail into slick mud. On a slope I would normally navigate with ease, my foot slipped. In an instant my body pitched forward and I began to tumble down the mountainside. I tried to use my arms and legs to stop myself, but it was no use. After a terrifying multi-meter roll, I finally managed to grab onto a thick vine, bringing my fall to an abrupt halt. As I tried to stand, a sharp, searing pain shot through my left calf. At first, I thought I'd injured it in the fall. But when I looked down, I saw a brown and copper-patterned snake, a copperhead slithering away into the undergrowth. My heart pounded in my chest. I had learned how to handle snake bites in basic training, but in a real-life situation, my mind went blank. I quickly examined the bite. 2 small puncture wounds were oozing blood, and the skin around them was already beginning to swell and turn red. "Stay calm, Clara. This isn't a drill. This is real," I whispered, trying to steady myself. I reached for my pack to get my first aid kit, but it was gone, torn off during the fall. My phone was gone too. I fumbled in my cargo pocket, found a length of cord, and quickly tied it above the wound. I have to stop the venom from reaching my heart. I don't know how many minutes had passed, but my entire calf was now swelling rapidly. The makeshift tourniquet felt looser as the swelling progressed past my knee, causing my trousers to become painfully tight. If I left it like this, I could lose circulation entirely. My breathing became shallow, my vision blurred, and a dizzying haze filled my head. I looked around, praying someone would come by. But on the rain-soaked mountain trail, there was no one. Just as my consciousness began to fade, I heard the sound of footsteps. Mustering my last bit of strength, I yelled, "Help! Please, help me!" The footsteps stopped, then rushed towards me. A man's silhouette appeared through the fog. He froze for a moment, then hurried to my side, his face a mask of shock and concern. "What happened?" he asked in a calm, clear voice. "Snakebite," I managed to choke out. His eyes fell to my leg, and his expression turned serious. "Your leg is swelling badly. We need to get these pans off." For a split second, I felt a pang of embarrassment and suspicion, but my body was too heavy to control. Without hesitation, he took out a pocket knife and carefully slit my pant leg open, exposing the bite area. He then loosened the cord I had tied and retied it properly just above my knee. "I'm calling 911, he said, pulling out his phone. "Hang in there." By now, I was completely spent. I couldn't even sit up. His voice sounded distant, but his composed demeanor gave me a small sliver of hope. As my vision faded to black, the last thing I saw was him moving towards me, preparing to lift me onto his back. Is this man an angel sent to save me? I thought, and then everything went dark. I, Clara Schmidt, who grew up in the Bavarian Alps and prided myself on my physical fortitude, was now facing a life or death situation on an American mountain. I never imagined this could happen. When I came to, my body felt like lead. I opened my eyes to a blurry, sterile white room. I was in a hospital bed. Soon, my vision cleared, and I saw the man from the mountain sitting quietly in a chair beside me. He was still in the same hiking clothes. He must have been here all night. "You're awake," he said with a gentle smile. Where am I?" I rasped. "You're in a hospital in Asheville. You were bitten by a copperhead. Luckily, you got treatment quickly," he explained in a soothing voice. Memories of the accident flooded back. The fall, the snake, and his appearance. This man was my savior. "Thank you," I said, the words pouring out. "Thank you so much. If it weren't for you, It's okay," he interrupted softly. "It's what anyone would have done." A doctor came in to check on me. Fortunately, the antivenom had worked quickly and the swelling in my leg had already gone down significantly. But the doctor's next words sent a chill down my spine. "You're very lucky, Sergeant. Another 30 minutes and the venom could have reached your heart. It could have been fatal." Hearing that, I instinctively looked at the man. He humbly averted his gaze, but in that moment, an overwhelming sense of gratitude washed over me. The doctor explained that I would need to stay in the hospital for at least 3 days. The problem was I was a German soldier with no family in the country. "Don't worry," the man said. "I've already taken care of the necessary paperwork." It turned out he had filled out the forms as my emergency contact and handled all the hospital administration overnight. He had also seen my name tag and contacted my unit at Fort Bragg to explain the situation. His thoughtfulness astounded me. "Thank you, truly," I said. "My name is Clara Schmidt. What's your name?" "Ethan," he said simply. "Ethan Miller." From that moment, our connection began. During my hospital stay, Ethan visited me every day. He would stop by after work to check on me, sometimes bringing food. My heart softened when he brought homemade chicken noodle soup in a thermos, saying, "Hospital food can be pretty bland. This is what my mom always made when we were sick." Our conversations evolved from simple gratitude to mutual curiosity. Ethan was an IT consultant who spent his weekends hiking. He told me he had also been hiking alone that day when he found me. On the day of my discharge, colleagues from my unit came to pick me up. But Ethan was there too. He helped with the final paperwork and handed me a bag with my prescriptions, reminding me to be careful. In that moment, I felt a strong reluctance to let him go. "Can I get your number?" I asked, mustering my courage. Ethan looked surprised for a moment, then smiled and gave me his number. After that, we started texting. At first, it was just short messages checking on my recovery, but soon we were sharing stories about our daily lives. His texts were always polite and warm. 2 weeks after I was fully recovered and back on duty, I invited him to dinner to thank him properly. "I owe my rescuer a mial," I texted. That evening he showed up in a smart casual outfit, looking more put together than he had in his hiking gear. My heart fluttered unexpectedly when I saw him. Dinner conversation flowed more naturally than ever. I told him about my childhood in Bavaria and why I joined the Bundeswehr. To be honest, I completely underestimated the Appalachian Mountains. I confessed with embarrassment. I thought they'd be a piece of cake. Ethan smiled. "A lot of foreigners think that, but these mountains are wilder and have more hidden dangers than they look." After that night, we started seeing each other more often. On weekends, we'd hike together on safer trails. Ethan taught me so much about the local flora and fauna, and I was once again impressed by his knowledge and physical fitness. As we talked, a special feeling began to grow between us. But a real-world problem loomed. I was a soldier on a foreign deployment. My tour of duty was for 3 years, and after that, I was scheduled to return to Germany. This fact began to weigh on me. "When are you scheduled to go back?" Ethan asked cautiously one day. "About a year from now," I answered honestly. A flicker of disappointment crossed his face before he quickly replaced it with a smile. "Well, a year is a long time. Let's not worry about it yet." His positive attitude helped, but as my feelings for him deepened, the reality of my departure became a heavier burden. Back at the base, my relationship with an American civilian drew mixed reactions. Most of my comrades were happy for me, but some were skeptical. A few of the male German soldiers in my unit were particularly condescending towards American men. One day at lunch in the mess hall, a few of them were talking loudly. "Seriously, don't American men seem a little soft?" one of them, Jürgen, said with a smirk. "They stand next to us and they just don't have that same disciplined bearing. And they're so loud," another added, laughing. "No sense of efficiency." Hearing their words, a hot rage flared inside me. I pictured Ethan's quiet strength and competence, and I was furious that these men who knew nothing would judge him. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked over to their table. "Don't ever talk like that again," I said, my voice sharp. "Whoa, Clara. Just joking," Jürgen said, holding up his hands. "Don't be so serious." It's not a joke, I shot back, my voice rising. You know nothing about them. My boyfriend is stronger and braver than all of you combined. They burst out laughing. Oh, really? Bring him over. We'd love to see this paragon of American manhood for ourselves. Overcome with anger, I slammed my hand on their table. The argument escalated, and soon other soldiers had to step in to separate us. The incident was reported to my commanding officer, and I received a formal reprimand. Sergeant Schmidt, this behavior is unacceptable, my captain said sternly. Assaulting a fellow soldier is a serious offense. That evening, I told Ethan what had happened. He listened patiently, then took my hand. Clara, I don't want you getting into trouble because of me. What they say doesn't matter. But they were insulting you, and American men in general. I couldn't stand it. Ethan smiled. The fact that you defended me is more than enough, but I don't want to see you get hurt. His mature reaction made me fall for him even more. He wasn't just my rescuer, he was the strongest, kindest person I had ever met. In that moment, I knew I couldn't lose him. I was deeply in love. A few days later, Jürgen approached me at lunch again. Hey Clara, we were thinking, we actually want to meet your boyfriend. If you fought that hard for him, he must be someone special. How about we all get together? Have a barbecue? Or something. I was suspicious, but I also saw it as a chance to clear the air. I explained the situation to Ethan. He was hesitant at first, but agreed, with one condition. I'd rather it wasn't just a military thing. Let's do it somewhere more relaxed. We arranged to meet at a popular pub downtown. Ethan arrived looking calm and confident. Guten Abend, he said, greeting my four comrades, including Jürgen, with a friendly smile and surprising them with his passable German. The first impression was a good one. Ethan broke the ice by asking about their home states in Germany, showing a surprising amount of knowledge about each region. As the drinks flowed, the atmosphere relaxed. Then, Jürgen issued a challenge. I hear Americans can't handle their liquor like Germans. How about we test that? A bottle of Kentucky's finest bourbon? I tensed up, but Ethan just smiled confidently. He easily kept pace with them, remaining clear-headed while Jürgen was flushed and slurring after half a bottle. My friends looked at him with newfound respect. The following weekend, they suggested going to a shooting range. As soldiers, we were in our element, but I worried it would be an unfair test for Ethan. I had forgotten that military service is a common part of American life too. All American men have to register for the draft, Ethan explained simply. And I served 4 years in the Marines before college. His marksmanship was impeccable, his scores higher than most of ours, his focus and steady posture were deeply impressive. The weekend after that, we all went hiking. Ethan naturally took the lead, guiding everyone expertly. That evening, Jessica, one of my female comrades, asked jokingly, Hey Ethan, do you have any single friends? I think I'd like a strong, silent American boyfriend too. I felt a pang of jealousy, but also immense pride. On the way home, I asked Ethan what he thought of my friends. They're good people, he said. A little guarded at first, but honest, it was good to be accepted by the same people who once looked down on American men. Ethan thought for a moment. Actually, their acceptance isn't what's important. It's your heart that matters. As long as you're happy, that's all that counts. Hearing those words, something clicked inside me. All my hesitation vanished. I stopped walking and took his hands in mine. Ethan, marry me. He stared at me, stunned. After a moment of silence, a brilliant smile spread across his face. Yes, he said, his voice firm. Of course, yes. After the proposal, we began planning, but we had a major hurdle. I had only 6 months left on my tour. After many long discussions, I made a decision. I would apply for an honorable discharge and start a new life in America. It was a monumental change, but with Ethan by my side, I knew I could be happy anywhere. The next step was meeting the parents. First, I met his in North Carolina. They welcomed me with a warmth that instantly put me at ease. Ethan has told us so much about you, his mother said. He calls you his hero. Then, it was time for them to meet my family. We decided Ethan and his parents would travel to Bavaria with me during my final leave. This was the part I dreaded most. My father was a traditional, stoic Bavarian man, but Ethan handled the situation perfectly. He studied German culture, polished his language skills, and even researched my father's passion for fly fishing. My father was initially reserved, but Ethan's sincere respect and effort quickly won him over. The two bonded over fishing trips in the alpine streams. At the end of the 2-week visit, we held a small engagement party. It was a beautiful merging of two cultures, two families becoming one. After my discharge, I moved to North Carolina permanently. Life as a civilian was a bigger adjustment than I'd anticipated. After years of structure and orders, I felt lost. "Clara, if there's something you want to do, just do it," Ethan encouraged me one evening. "The most important thing is that you're happy." His words spurred me to action. I enrolled in a Pilates teacher training course, something I'd been interested in for years. The physical part was easy, but learning anatomy and principles in English was a challenge. After 6 months of intense study, I passed my certification exam. I was no longer Sergeant Schmidt of the Bundeswehr. I was Clara Miller, a Pilates instructor. My classes quickly became popular. I developed a unique program called Tactical Core, blending Pilates principles with the high-intensity conditioning from my military background. It was a hit, especially with young professionals. My new identity began to take shape. 3 years into our marriage, we decided to have a child. Our son, Leo, was born after a long labor. He had my blue eyes and Ethan's dark hair, a perfect blend of Germany and America. Life settled into a happy rhythm. One day, we had some unexpected visitors, Jürgen, Jessica, and my other old army friends. They had all, for various reasons, found their way back to the US. Jürgen had taken a job with a German engineering firm in Charlotte, and Jessica was still dating the American friend Ethan had introduced her to. "Wow, Clara," Jessica said, looking around our cozy home. "You really have built a beautiful life here." They were amazed at my transformation from a tough, hardened soldier into a smiling mother and wellness coach. "Honestly," Jürgen admitted, "when you said you were staying, we were all worried. But look at you now. You're happier than I've ever seen you." When Ethan came in holding Leo, their jaws dropped. They were still in awe of his calm, steady presence. Later that evening, Jürgen grew serious. "You know, we all envy your courage, Clara, to leave everything you knew behind and start over. That takes real guts." "It wasn't courage," I replied honestly. "It was love. With Ethan, I knew I could go anywhere." On the 5th anniversary of our wedding, we threw a small party. Our families from both Germany and America were there, along with our local friends and my old army comrades, who were now building their own lives in this country. Ethan gave me a surprise gift, a silver necklace with a pendant engraved with the name of the mountain trail where we first met. "If you hadn't cut my pants off that day," I said, laughing through tears, "I wouldn't be here." Ethan took my hand. "I didn't save you, Clara," he said softly. "We saved each other." Looking around the room at the incredible mix of people, I saw how my arrogant underestimation of a mountain had led to a life of humility, and how one fateful encounter had changed the course of so many lives. America was now my home. My love for Ethan was deeper than ever, and my gratitude for that rainy day in the Appalachians was infinite.